Hi, everyone. I am a speech pathologist and I work in the Evergreen School District in Vancouver, Washington. I am an SLP with a point 4 and then an AAC coach for point 6 of my contract. So the majority of that is managing referrals and coaching teams on, AAC basics and implementation. But we have 39 schools across our district and across various, from early childhood to transition program. In the last 3 years or so that I've been in this position, we've moved into a neighborhood school model. So all students are eligible to receive whatever level of service they require at their home school. So because of that, our training has really needed to be spread, and everything we're doing is about building capacity. And how can we make sure that not just like these 3 special education teachers and these 3 paras that work with these 5 kids can support specifically AAC, but assistive tech in general. And so I just kind of went down this rabbit hole with AI and ChatGPT a couple months ago, and I got so excited that I had to email Setzi because I was like, everyone needs to know about this. So we're just trying to figure out, like, what does an educational day look like for our students who use AAC? We're trying to move away from this model where they're only receiving academics in the special education classroom. How are we increasing access to gen ed curriculum or content or grade level content? And so this is kind of combined with the descriptive teaching model. If you guys aren't familiar with created by Gail Van Tatenhove, where we are using universal core or core words, like the words that are on the main page of students' AAC devices primarily, to break down concepts and grade level concepts and learning into accessible or meaningful learning for students, all the way for students who might still be emergent communicators or learning communication. And so part of my trainings, my AAC basics trainings, is playing this video. And I'll see, I can share my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I love this video. I always, whenever I have trainings, I share, like, look for the neon green in YouTube. I just think that she's a parent, she's an SLP, she's an AAC specialist, and her little quick videos, her Tuesday tips, like our Monday modeling tip, Tuesday tips are just so relatable. And I love that they're in like 3-minute increments, because I feel like special education teachers and staff especially are at their max capacity. So when I come in to do training or implement AAC, they're like barely processing anything I have to say. So if I can give them, like, look for this neon green and at your own pace, watch these videos that you might find relevant. So I love this Monday modeling tip is how to model AAC naturally. I could probably recite it verse by verse because I've watched it so many times, but it's 3 minutes and it's just like, what does it look like when I say model naturally throughout the day? So how are we using even just a core board? We don't need their devices in every instance to encourage staff, paras, teachers, classroom staff to model language from their core boards or from their devices in natural situations. Because so many of our interactions with our AAC users are task oriented, like do this, or giving them directions or giving them a task or task completion. And so I wanted to just show what this looks like. And in this video, she goes through like a day, examples of what you could, and she points as she's talking. So she says, oh, it's so good to see you today. How are you? And she's just pointing to the words. She says, it's so important that we show how language is flexible. So she points to feel and says, after they come back from PE, they're sweaty and their shoulders are drooped. And she says, oh, it looks like you feel tired, or they're doing an art activity and we're using the word feel to ask how the clay feels. And so I wanted to give our staff, so I was trying to think of, like, what are some takeaways that I could use based on this video for paras or for teachers who wanted to give them real examples of what to model throughout an educational day. And so I'm just going to open up my ChatGPT Hang on, I'm gonna go back up to the top, the chat, because it started with like I just wanted to create like a handout. So let me share that screen real quick. Here it is. So my first prompt was generate ideas for incorporating AAC into daily routines at school. And then this is what I was looking for, was like, here's morning arrival. Here are some things that you could do. Here are some words that you could model on the device. Circle time, group lessons, classroom jobs and responsibilities. I wanted to just like create something that people could print out. And I've seen pieces of this, different AAC specialists or SLPs have had I think like the bilingue AAC, sometimes they have like examples with pieces of these or like routines, but I wanted to get more specific. So academic lessons, incorporate AAC for tools for participation in subjects like reading, math, and science. So then I thought, okay, let's get deeper. What does this actually look like? So then I asked, what kind of words would I model during math? And then I said, for examples, numbers or quantitative concepts. And ChatGPT spit this back out. Here are core words that we would want to model during numbers and counting, addition and subtraction, comparing and measurement. So I was thinking, I was trying to tie this to the TIES 5, 15, 45 model. Like putting this together, if a special education teacher or a para has 5 minutes with a gen ed teacher, what could this 5-minute conversation look like? Okay, we're talking about comparing and measurement today. Okay, so the para could type into ChatGPT, I'll keep going. Hang on. I'll get there in a second because this gets deeper. So problem solving and word problems, fractions and parts of a whole, and time and money. So then I said, and then it asked me, actually, it prompted and said, would you like specific activities to go along with these core words? And I was like, yes, please. And so this is where we kept going. AAC modeling more blocks using manipulative. So it's tying in the actual materials and the core that we're going to model. So now we're getting deeper. We're getting more specific. We're getting more student specific because like I said, we're supporting kids from preschool to transition. They're not all going to be working on pizza fractions in the, across every grade. So then I said, create a similar guide for AAC users in science. It's like, what about science lessons? What are some core words that we would want to be modeling, or phrases if you have students who are more phrase-based or Gestalt language processors, or what kind of things would we want to focus on if we were supporting a student in a general education or grade level curriculum? How could we make that meaningful learning for them, regardless of their communication ability? So then I said, well, wait, not everybody's doing states of matter. What about, and then I like that they have some final tips for supporting AAC users in that subject. And then I said, could you please now tailor these to a 4th grade that's aligned with the Common Core standards for a student who's using LAMP words for life? I started to get deeper and deeper because I thought this might be something that a para could ask, 5-minute or 15-minute collaboration with a teacher, general education teacher or instructional coach. Oh, we're doing my students in 4th grade, or I'm going to be supporting a 4th grade group in science. What are some words that we would want to model? So here's the core words. And then ChatGPT outlined it specifically for LAMP words for life. So then these are the units that you could look for. If you knew which unit they were doing, you could ask it to expand on this unit, because you'll see there's only like a couple of examples for each. But then I got even deeper and I said, I wonder, can you repeat this but include the pathway of the buttons to press to find each word and phrase recommended to model in the LAMP vocabulary structure? And so it then created a pathway. So for those who are familiar with LAMP using New Voice, you can type in a word and it'll create the word map, the path, the words you need, the buttons you need to hit if it's not on the main page, or if it's like a 2-hit. And so this then created not just the core words we need to model, breaking down the concepts into their base meaning, what do we need to teach, but then also something we could print out, give to paras, give to staff, give to anyone who's supporting the team, and be able to find those words quickly on their communication device. So I felt like this was really supporting our goals and our practices of meaningful inclusion for students, regardless of communication, or where they are in their emergent communication journey. Obviously, if we could do this for students who are just emergent, we could tailor this to students who are more conventional, or students who are multilingual. I mean, all of this can be supporting not just our, quote unquote, life skills level of need students. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. It did ask me if I wanted a visual, like a customized visual core board, and I said yes, and then it got real funky. So I would, if you get asked that question, it'll take you like 24 hours, and then it never actually responds with anything, and it might create like a really weird board that says like proloquo, core words, science, like it's not really useful. But you could certainly type this if you wanted to make like picture word maps, type this into your chat editor or chat editor for Nova Chat or for Touch Chat. I'm not sure if they have a pathways on there, but for New Voice, if you're using LAMP specifically or Unity or other PRC, you can make the visual pathways for staff. So feel free to play around with it. I thought it was really interesting when it really got me when it got the LAMP pathways. I was like, that is incredible. I don't know how it does this, but I'm just gonna share it with the world. So there you are.
Alyssa, thank you. Really interesting. Lots of feedback in the chat. And let's just take 1 minute. We do have to go to another presentation, but I will say that we are going to have a breakout room on AI and AAC coming up. And I don't know if Alyssa, if you're able to be in that room, but that would be great if people want to follow up on this. This latest one was, have you fact checked these paths? I can't imagine the contents of LAMP or other programs are actually available in the data sets for programs like Chat GPT. Like, have you seen if the pathway has worked actually? Yeah, it's an interesting idea, right? This is something to explore more.
Yeah, I was mostly just asking because I know like the way that like how confidently you frame a question can affect the answer you get from ChatGPT or like, it could be extrapolating data from just what it knows about AAC in general. So I'd be curious about like whether the paths are actually correct because like that's not really something like you can't just look up all the paths in LAMP. It's a proprietary program. So I was just curious.
No, I think that's going to be a human fact check and edit it if needed, or take the words that they populate, those suggested words that they populate, core and fringe, and put those into for LAMP specifically, into your New Voice, writing with words, I think it might be called. That's not right. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. I really appreciate you sharing this information. It's incredible. And I think maybe this can be another thing we talk about in our December meeting is just all the things we're doing with AI. So thank you for being willing to share. We always love it when people are sharing what they're doing.